You mentioned Frank Ocean, that you sent him your album to the song.
Well, I played it for him.
Not the album, but you played the song for him. Frank Ocean, a lot of people say he finessed the system. He had one more album to do on Def Jam. I think it's Def Jam.
I'm not familiar with his business situation. So
but he did that, and then he gave Apple exclusive a better album.
I mean,
even Swap ain't no swindler.
I honestly, knowing Frank, I don't think he's calculating in that sense. Like, this man is an artist,
right?
And he's going to do what he's going to do as an artist. I don't think he's sitting there doing the math like, well, I owe them this and I'm going to give them a weaker album. He's not doing that.
Right.
He's an artist and he cares so much about his craft.
Right.
He's going to come out with his music when he wants to come out with it, but it's going to be based on the art.
Right.
And I don't think he's driven by the numbers. I think he's driven by his commitment
the product
to being an
and putting
artist.
out the best product he possibly can.
Yeah.
All right, let's get something that you're very, very passionate about, and you mentioned about this. This has been a long thing in your history.
Yeah.
It's politics.
Yeah.
And we got Madam VP Kamala Harris, and she's going against former President Trump.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing here is a shift, is that a lot more Black men and women seem to be leaning towards President Trump.
Yeah.
How do we ensure that whomever the candidate is, that they do what they say they're going to do to guard, when they're like, we want the Black vote, we want the Black vote, we want the Black vote, and they come to churches and they come to all this thing.
Yeah.
How do we ensure, John, that they do what they say they're going to do once they get in office?
First of all, I think I always start with, let's question the whole narrative that she's going to lose a bunch of Black men.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that's actually the case.
Okay.
And even if you look at the polls right now, even a little bit of drift is still...
She's still getting like
80-some percent. Mm-hmm. So of all the human beings in America, of all the voters in America, Black people are going to vote for her at a higher percentage than any other people in the country.
Right.
So if she loses, it's not going to be on us.
Right.
Okay? And it's not going to be on Black men.
Correct.
Like, if we're voting for her, 4 out of 5 of us are voting for her, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I don't ever want the narrative to be, oh, Trump is winning Black men in droves. He might be going from 10% to 17%, which is meaningful. It might be enough to win Pennsylvania if he loses enough Black men. If she loses enough Black men in Philadelphia, it might tip Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So it's meaningful in that sense. But let's be clear, Black men and Black women are in overwhelming numbers, more than any other demographic group in the country, going to vote for Kamala Harris. So let's start with that.
Okay.
But to the extent that she does lose any of them, we have to figure out why and do our best to go out there and convince folks to change their mind back to her. And she's going out there and doing the work.
Yes.
She's specifically targeting policies toward our community. Mm-hmm. She knows, for one, Black unemployment is lower than it's ever been. So that means we're working. That means we're generating income.
Right.
But one of the things she knows we could do better is generate wealth.
Correct.
And so a lot of her policies are around wealth building.
Right.
So it's one thing to have income. That's your job. That's your salary. Mm-hmm. But wealth is something we've been denied in this country because redlining excluded us from certain neighborhoods, made it hard for us to get a home loan so we could buy a house and build that wealth that we could pass on to our kids. So one of the biggest issues we've dealt with since we've been here, since we've been freed from slavery, was we couldn't have that kind of home equity that other families have had.
We didn't have the access.
And so the biggest gap is the wealth gap. It's not the income gap. Mm-hmm. So what is she doing to target that? She's saying, we're going to make it easier to make a down payment. We're going to, for first-time home buyers, we're going to give you $25,000. We're going to make sure there are more homes built that are affordable so that we increase the supply and make it more available for folks that have been excluded before. So you can make that investment in something that you can pass on to your kids and build wealth for your families. And then the other way we can build equity is through our own businesses.
Yeah.
And she's also making it easier for you to get a small business loan. And so these are things that are specifically targeted toward folks that have been excluded from the system before, excluded from wealth building before, and we're going to benefit more from this than any other group. And it's not only for us, but because the disparity is so big in our community, it's going to help us more than it helps other communities. And that is key, to have a president that is thinking about the actual issues that we face, knowing that there's a big wealth gap, and having specific policies targeted toward fixing that. She's doing that,
right,
and her opponent is not doing it at all. And at the same time, her opponent is denigrating us, disrespecting us. Sometimes people talk about him and they just talk about how he's kind of impolite. Like, he says things that he's not supposed to say. No, dig a little deeper. This man thinks we are inferior.
Yes.
He believes, when you notice when he talks about immigration, he's talking about black and brown people coming from the global south, and he says they are up our gene pool. They are poisoning the blood of America. So what he's saying is the ideal version of America is a white America. And anytime brown people infiltrate America, they're messing up the blood of America. They're messing up the gene pool of America. And that takes us back to Hitler. That takes us back to eugenics. That takes us back to folks who believe there's a genetic hierarchy that's racially determined.
The race is superior to the other.
Yes. And I just can't imagine. It couldn't be me, a black man voting for somebody who believes so deeply that black men are inferior to him because we're black. I can't imagine doing it.
Right.
And I just don't see it happening in large numbers. And so I get people's concern if it's going from 10% to 17%. That is a concern. But I think most black men are going to be like, the choice is clear. And I think most black women are going to do the same thing. And, you know, I think of it as a father, too. Like, I have 2 boys and 2 girls. There's not a chance in the world that I ever want any of my sons to grow up and be like Donald Trump. He is the opposite of what I want my kids to be. He's a liar. He's unaccountable.
Yeah.
He's a racist. He doesn't do the homework. Like, he's never prepared. He's a bully, doesn't pay people that he owes money to. Like, there's not a trait of his that you'd want your kid to have other than that he's rich. And he got rich from $400 million that his father gave him. How many of us have access to that? And so, like, as a father raising 2 sons, he's the exact example of what I don't want them to be.
Right.
And then as a father raising 2 daughters, Kamala's an example of what I would love for them to be. I would love for them to be her, to be as smart and focused and dedicated to service as she's been, to be as qualified as she is for this position. And as a father of 2 black girls, who up to this point would never have an example of a woman being president. Men have had plenty of chances to be president of this country of varying degrees of success and competence. It's about time we elect a woman to be president, and someone that's so qualified, so ready for the moment, who has clearly distinguished herself as the better candidate.
As a former NFL player, I know a thing or two about high performance, and that's why I drive the BMW 7 Series. This car has everything I need. It's big enough, comfortable enough, and luxurious enough to meet even my high expectations. When I'm behind the wheel of the BMW, I'm not just driving a car, I'm driving legacy. What I love most is the precision engineering, cutting-edge technology, and unmatched style, whether it's spacious interior, the powerful engine, or the smooth ride. BMW makes sure every detail is on point. I trust BMW to deliver the ultimate driving experience, and I know you will too. So why wait? Head over to BMWUSA.com. Check out models like the sporty X3, the all-electric i4. Build your dream car today and join me in experiencing luxury and performance that only the ultimate driving machine can offer.
Want to join Club Shay Shay? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party, because you know we like to do something before 2 something.